Welcome to the MVP podcast, where we talk about anything NBA. I'm Sam Holcroft alongside Geigh Zollicoffer and Payton Thompson. Before we begin, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Momentum MVP, follow our Facebook page at MVP Momentum Podcast, and check us out on YouTube at MVP Momentum Podcast. Today, we're going to do another stock market update. I forgot what number it was, but we have, I think, 3 left. So we have this one more, and then our final one. Looking at our top gainers and top losers from this last week, the top gainer was the Heat at $12.49 a share. The Hornets, $10.57. The Lakers, $4.08. The Bucks, $3.69. And the Warriors and the Celtics at $3.03. The top losers were the Jazz at $13.44. The Cavaliers at $6.35. The Knicks at $4.85. The Clippers, $4.31. And the Wizards at $3.05. Other teams that also gained money were, the Nuggets, the Kings, the Pacers, the Thunder, the Blazers, the Magic, the Spurs, and the Raptors. And then other teams that lost money were the Bulls, the Grizzlies, the Suns, the Pelicans, Mavericks, Timberwolves, Hawks, Nets, 76ers, Wizards, Rockets, and the Pistons, unfortunately, losing money once again. In terms of the gains from this last week, Geigh was on top with $286.71 in gains, bringing his yearly gains to $2,407.15. Payton was second with gaining $94.61, bringing the yearly loss to $418.93. And then I gained $51.01, bringing my yearly gains to $2,256.52. Okay, so a lot of us are making some big moves. It's big move money time. This is the time last year where Geigh tried to go, I'm investing in one team, and that's what ended up costing him last year because he kept on picking the wrong team between the Celtics and the Bucks. A little bit different of a strategy this year. I know, Payton, you weren't a part of this last year, but kind of a lot of different strategies going on here. Geigh has 3 teams invested. I have 6, and Payton, that's 20. But
he rises if the NBA does well. That's what he does. He's a walking Dow Jones. That's what he is.
Yeah,
the Dow Jones of the NBA.
So who wants to go first on their stocks?
I want to hear Payton. I feel like I haven't heard from Payton in a long time.
Long time. Ever since Sam's computer fried, I didn't really mention that. But basically my strategy at this point in the game is kind of just to get back to not a net negative, just kind of get back to 0. And I can't remember what I was at originally, but I think I climbed back a little bit compared to where I was earlier in the season. I think this would be consecutive updates with positive gains, so that's a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, we can kind of go through what I sold first, and then I'll talk about what I added. But the Pistons, I bought 13 shares originally because they were really cheap. I figured that they play pretty hard from a night-to-night basis, and I figured if they won 3-4 games out of whatever they needed to win, they'd at least give me a couple bucks per share. But at this point, it's not really worth holding, so got rid of those. And as far as the Mavericks, I feel like they've kind of hit their peak with Luka playing most of the season. He picked up an injury, I believe. I don't think it's a big injury. It's kind of a minor ankle issue that he's had at least the last month, and I feel like they might kind of not shut him down, but they're going to probably start resting him a little bit for the playoffs. But I feel like this is probably the best roster they've had all season, with Derek Lively kind of, getting better as the season goes on, and then getting Daniel Gafford and Tim Hardaway Jr. is playing well. And they're still, they're a solid team in the West, of course, but I don't see them getting much better than they are right now and, cracking the top 4 in the West. So I wanted to get off those shares. As far as the Wolves, I still believe that they're going to have a solid win percentage to the next, month. But they're not really doing as well as I thought they would. definitely not as good as they were doing earlier in the season as far as expected win percentage. So got rid of some of those, about 25% of those. And then the Bucks. The Bucks are playing really well right now. Their expected win percentage is going to go up a lot. Giannis is starting to sit. I think the first game I don't know about for the season, but the first game he sat in a long time was on Monday with yesterday. So I think they're gonna start probably sitting him now that they kind of have a good feel for that second 3 seed, and I don't really think it matters too much who they play in the first round. So and they won without him even on Monday. So I feel like it's a good time to sell where the price is kind of up where you want it to be at. So yeah, I think I got a good chunk of money out of that. So as far as the teams I've added, I'll go from the Rockets first. I would say, my bias as a Rockets fan played a little percentage in this, but also they have a pretty good schedule coming up. I believe they have the Wizards or the Pistons twice, and then they have the contrary at least once, and then they have the Hornets once or twice, and then the Spurs once or twice in the next week and a half, 2 weeks. So I think it's a good time to grab some of those, especially when the stock is probably as low as it's been all season or close to it. So it was a good time to grab those. And then the Nuggets, I feel like they're getting a little bit closer to kind of hitting their stride, closer to the playoffs. They're going to go into the playoffs kind of feeling good about themselves, feeling hot. And I believe that everyone is healthy right now. I think Jamal Murray shook off that ankle injury he had about a week ago, and they're looking pretty good right now. The Clippers, ever since the James Harden trade happened, they've been solid all season. I think with this last week or two, I'm not sure exactly what happened to. I know their expected win percentage was kind of high. I don't know exactly when it was high, but it was high recently because they started winning a bunch of games, and so that's why you're kind of seeing a little bit of a drop off. But I think them losing Russ, and getting a little bit closer to the playoffs where the wear and tear is kind of there. I think that they have enough talent to be able to win games, but that win percentage isn't going to be too crazy where they can't overcome it. Um, so I grabbed a few of those shares. I, of course, already have 15 shares before that, so just kind of, slightly doubling down on that one. And then Pelicans, I think Pelicans are one of those teams where, you don't necessarily trust that they're going to be healthy all season, but so far they've done it pretty well. And Ingram's playing well in the last month. And I don't really think they're going to want to be fighting to stay out of the play-in. I think they're going to try to gun for that 6 or 5 seed. So they're not going to have the luxury to sit guys and kind of mess around, and they're always competitive. So I wanted to grab a few shares of them as well.
Geigh, would you like to go next?
Yeah. Yeah, so I was right. I planned everything about the Lakers. I knew they would do well. The thing is, I don't need to hit, the thing when you're doing this, you don't need to hit, perfect on who's the highest winner. You don't have to hit it perfectly, but you just got to make sure you know that they're going to gain. I knew that, I picked the Heat and the Lakers, and I was like, yeah, they're going to gain. And I wasn't so sure, but about the Jazz and the Cavs, but I went for them anyways. But I didn't go a lot. But I went pretty heavy on the teams that I knew were going to do well. Did I think they were going to do the best? No. I had no idea if they were going to do the best. And the Lakers kind of just squeezed by, but they did me well, including that crazy comeback from the Clippers. Perfectly executed. I knew that something like that would happen. It wouldn't be the Lakers if it didn't happen. But so they have a heavy schedule. They're gonna play the Nuggets again, and if there's one team that the Lakers are scared of, it's the Nuggets.
It keeps you up at night, doesn't it?
Just
you dream of brooms, MPJ. Don't you? You dream of brooms.
It's been brooms since 20. What is it, 2021?
Yeah.
I don't remember last time Lakers beat the Nuggets. Here's the thing. I think there's also that funny stat that I think LeBron, is it LeBron or LeBron the only someone of the Lakers has their only losing record against the Nuggets. I think it's LeBron or Kobe. Something crazy like that. But anyways, yeah, so, but that time is gone. I'm not going to go for the Lakers this time. It was nice, but I got what I needed. But now the teams Well, I sold the Cavs obviously because their hot streak is over. And the Jazz, I tried that. I tried to go for a lower team, but they're starting to have to hold up their weight a little bit more this late in the season with a .399 win percentage, like an expected win percentage. So, they can't just get around just messing around and make money. And now they're paying for it too, which makes a lot of sense. Remember, the Jazz were highest gainers, and all of a sudden now they're the highest losers. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
So it makes sense. So with the teams that I bought the Heat. One, because I like their schedule coming up. I think the Heat historically are a team that gets better closer to the playoffs. Historically, they always start slow to begin the season, and they always have to make up for it. Hence is why they always somehow make these large pushes in the postseason, even as low-ranked seeds. If you look at towards the later half of their seasons, they don't play like a lower-ranked seed. They play like a team that has a chance to actually make up a playoff push. So I expect a lot of good things out of them, and I don't expect them to make mistakes against this weaker schedule here. So that's why I put 90. And the next team was the Hornets at a .179. It's good to just take a chance. The Hornets are still the Hornets, though, so I would be sad. I wouldn't be sad if they lost money. I honestly, I kind of expect that they might lose money. Who cares? But you gotta. You at least got to try it out. I think, the Hornets and the Pistons are very similar teams. Hornets, Pistons, and Wizards. People make fun of the Pistons, but the Hornets are arguably getting as bad as them. That's only 6 more
Really,
wins.
you think so?
I think so. I think the Hornets are still pretty bad, and they even got rid of Rozier, and I don't think they've.
Yeah, you could say that.
Rozier and Hayward just left, so I mean,
Yeah, you could say they're pretty bad still. But you could, I think their record is pretty bad still, and I'm not a big fan of Steve Clifford, but I would say they're probably a lot more competitive than those other two teams on a night-to-night basis.
Mhm.
They just same as win loss.
Yeah. I still kind of put them all in the same rank with. I mean, obviously, you have the Pistons lower than the Wizards, even though they have the same record. But
I don't know.
the Hornets are not very far away from being as bad as a team. So yeah. It's the win percentage that got me to put money on there. And then last, the Rockets. I still think that the Rockets can pull off. I still think that the Rockets are a decent team. But they have a lot of moving parts around them, a lot of not really consistent players that they are forced to play with. I don't know how I feel about Jalen Green at this point right now, but I guess I have to stand by my case that I still think he can play as a good second, third option guy if he develops. But this team, given their schedule, I think they'll pull it together and go above 500. That's the end of the story there. I think they're gonna go 500, and that's why I put in 20. And yeah, it's another kind of low win percentage.
I'll sum up what you said with as far as the team base, you were saying there's a lot of moving parts, and I would say that's a pretty good way to put it. And I would also say the Rockets, it's my team. We're just not very good right now. We're just not a very talented team across the board. As far as injuries, we're not made to withstand injuries, and we're all young, and our vets are vets, so that's why we can trust them. But at the same time, they're not high quality vets. Fred, night to night, you never know. But and Dylan, his good nights are good, but his bad nights are really bad. So, yeah. But I would say they're, I think we can all agree they're a, well coached team, and they have young talent. But with young talent comes inconsistency.
Yeah, basically, just not consistent enough for me, and I feel like you have a lot of mouths to feed to. But the thing is that this team is going to try to win those games because they don't really have a draft pick. So that's that adds to my say that they're going to go above 500 against these terrible teams because there's no reason to drop these.
Right.
So yeah.
All right. Well, I'll go into mine, and I didn't invest any on the Rockets, unlike both of you. Right now, I mean, like you guys just said, they're a little too inconsistent for me, and their expected win percentage is almost 500, and they are not 500. So it's hard, even though their schedule could say it. It's just if their expected win percentage was maybe like 6% lower, and maybe I take that, but it's almost at 50%, which means they'd have to win half of their games. Which, how many games do they have this upcoming weeks? Is it 7?
Let me see here. I'll look it up real quick.
Yeah, including the one tonight.
Yeah. So including the game tonight, there is, and you said in the next 2 weeks?
Yep. So 17th is the last day.
Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah.
So you're telling me that you both are cool with them winning 4 out of these 7 games? I mean, it's reasonable, but has the consistency been there to invest in it? And also, is the juice worth the squeeze? Because if they do win 4 out of 7, they're probably making what they lost this last week, which is like $1.20.
Okay, and
if they don't, then you're probably losing probably 80 cents.
Okay. It's easy.
But you also that's $200 that you could have been investing into 5 Hornet shares or 3 Heat shares.
What if I want something steady?
I mean, if you want to call that steady.
Steady.
Anyways, go into your sells and buys here.
Yeah, so I got rid of my 40 Lakers shares. They were barely 500. Had to escape the Clippers in order to be 500, because if they ended up losing that game, then
Clippers choked that. They didn't escape anything.
They would have lost.
That's not an escape. That was a choke job.
Okay. 11 straight, 12 straight, I think, before this year.
Before
sounds about right.
What do you mean before? I think it's been like 3-1 this season.
3-1 this season, yeah. Yeah. Why are you making that face? You guys lost 11 straight after winning a championship. 11 straight to us. All right. And then the Cavs, I ended up selling. We saw it earlier this year with the Bucks, where once you get to that, $80 threshold, that's risky. It's risky business. And that expected win percentage went above 2/3. And there's not many teams that once that expected win percentage goes over 2/3, you want to take that risk. I mean, they had 9 games. They had to win 7 in order to make money. I don't know what I was thinking. I must have just liked their schedule. It kind of bit me in the butt there. Pacers, I'm selling 15 of. I'm still keeping 10. Relatively good price. If you want consistency, this Pacers one is right around there. Like, they're not losing more than $4 in the span of 2 weeks. They're not going to gain more than $4. Like, that's consistency right there. I got rid of my 10 Jazz, biggest loser. I was pretty high on them gaining some money with being at $55, but the expected win percentage is just too high, and they are really cold right now. I got rid of the Knicks. I'm just not a fan of that expected win percentage. And, I think they have 6 games, so they'd have to win 4 out of their next 6 games. Just not a fan of that. Also was on the biggest losers. And then I sold my 5 Mavericks, which is the same reasoning that PT brought up. So then with my buys, I am going 50 on the Heat. Like Geigh said, good schedule. The Heat just seem to always get better once you get to that end of that season. 45 on the Hornets. I had 13 on them. They were a top gainer this last week. And, when you have a schedule like, let me bring it up. Yeah, so they're currently losing, in approximately a minute and a half, they're going to lose to the Magic. But they do have the Wizards, Pistons, and Grizzlies, along with the Nets. And all they have to do is win 2 games. Then they also have the Suns and 76ers, which that 76ers game, maybe could be a little upset. But they just need to win 2 games, lowest expected win percentage in the NBA right now.
That's asking a lot.
For 2 games in the span of 6.
In the span of how many? 61? They've only won 15.
Yeah, but this is the hottest they've been all year.
So in the span of 6, you're saying 2 games in the span of 6, right?
Yeah.
But by this ratio, they get 1.5 in the span of 6.
But I don't think.
But look at the last 2 weeks. Like, do teams not ride on momentum?
I was gonna say, I think, like here, I think, and you were, I don't know, you were kind of guilty of it too, Sam, a little bit, and now you're kind of guilty of it here, Geigh. I don't think with this kind of game that we're playing, you can look at the whole year record and say, well, because they're this record now, that doesn't mean they can't win a certain amount of games now. Like if we look at the Warriors record, and we'll talk about the Warriors in a second after we get done with our own stuff, because I'm surprised none of us went into them. But if you look at their record, you'd be like, you're insane to go on the Warriors. But, I mean, it might be a bad example because I don't know their schedule. But, like, you can't look at a team's record and say, well, that automatically means that they're not going to do it. I don't think you can approach it like that.
Is LaMelo back?
I don't know.
Oh, here, I can click on this game and I will find out.
It's still the Trey Mann show?
Possibly.
But like LaMelo did not play.
The Knicks are a perfect example. Like, just because they have a great record doesn't mean it's smart to invest in them, because they're going to win the same amount of games.
They have a terrible record against 500 teams. They have one of the worst.
That's my point. You can look at the schedule, but you can't look at their whole, year resume, because that doesn't tell the whole story,
Okay.
Gotta look at the schedule coming up.
I'm not that hard to convince. I gave him 39.
No, I'm just saying.
I'm just poking the bear with Sam.
Right. But go on, Sam.
Another team that I went pretty hard in was the Grizzlies. That's a really good stock price. It's kind of funny with how they had those 2 really good those really good rounds that they shot up so high, and then even though they end up losing money just because their expected win percentage is so low, they don't lose a lot. I think 2 or 3 updates ago they lost a decent amount because they went winless, but since then it's pretty plateaued because they always get around their expected win percentage, so they're barely losing money. There's still really no stars or like super good players playing on this because Geigh out for season, Desmond Bane's still out.
They're all going to be out for the rest of the season.
They're all still out, but yet
is Jaren hurt?
Might as well be. I think if anything, they're sitting him now.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, they sat him yesterday actually.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing: the Grizzlies have 7 games. All they have to do is win 2. So I think that they have a good chance to do that. They got the Hawks, Wizards, and Hornets.
Can you name anyone who's starting? Like any player who's started right now?
Let me look at
Luke Kennard, Santi Aldama.
No. I asked Sam because I know Sam invested.
He's looking it up.
Even though he was on the starting lineup.
Here, let me pull this up. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, look at this. Everyone played at least 21 minutes, with the top guy playing 34. I'm assuming that these guys were the starters because they're the only ones with a position next to their name. Obviously, I know Luke Kennard, but everyone else,
I mean, GG Jackson could put up a 30
yeah,
ball, but you said they had to win 2 of their next. You said 7?
2 out of 7, and including a game that they won yesterday. So now they only got to win 1 out of 6,
Gotcha.
and they'll make money. Unless if
It's probably
unless if that one game is like by like 50, then maybe they might have to win another game.
it might beat the Wizards by 30. No, probably not. But that would be the one game they would win, I think, out of the schedule. Is the Wizards at home?
76ers?
Yeah.
Not in Philly.
Here's the thing. This with the 76ers is
There is no thing. Just move on to the next game. They're not winning that.
with the 76. I mean, they're okay now.
No Joel, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But Tyrese sat today. Don't know if you guys knew that. But I still don't think it'll matter. I still think they're a good enough coach team and have enough veterans where it's not really going to matter, especially being at home. They have a better chance to beat the Hawks, in my opinion, than the.
When is the Hawks game? Is it away or home?
I think that one's at home too.
It's home. It's home.
Yeah.
I think that's like Friday.
Yeah,
that
that'll be
one's,
the one.
Decent.
But
DeJounte
I don't know
could
if they
go
can
off,
win
though.
that. That seems tough.
Yeah.
We'll see. And then the last team that I bought a little bit, I just put 3 shares into the Bulls. You know, they've made me a decent amount of money this year. You know, their expected win percentage is all right at almost 45. Out of 8 games, they have to win 4 against some teams that they could.
I gotta go
what do you mean,
50%.
Yeah.
What's that
but they
schedule
also
looking
have
like? That might be tough.
on there they got the Jazz,
Okay.
Pacers, which is kind of like right there. I think they beat the Pacers a few times this year. They also have the Wizards, Clippers on there twice, which that could end up being a game where they sit a PG or I guess they're both healthy, or a Kawhi could sit that game or a Harden, and maybe the Bulls give them a run for their money. Then they also include the Warriors and the Mavericks. So I mean, I'm not going heavy on it. I just had the money to put in there. So
can I see the Hawks trend? I just want to see
you
we're
want to
towards
see the stock
end of the season.
timeline.
Yeah, I want to see the stock timeline of the Hawks because the Hawks are known to be like a pretty basic team, like average. Where have they been? Is this one of those where you can highlight? Oh no.
I was able to. There we go. You can kind of see it.
They've just been kind of just chilling. I guess
Chilling towards the bottom.
They're due to come up soon, so maybe we invest in the Hawks eventually.
And why would they come up?
Because they're a 500 team. They're perfectly 500. Historically, they've always been like 500.
But they're not. They're 26 and 34.
They're due for a come up.
But see, that's my point though. They're
an exception, Payton.
No, they're not an exception because they had Trae Young all season and now they don't have him. So that's gonna affect the rest of the year. That's why you can't look at the first 3 quarters of the season. But here's the thing: is I do agree with you because one, they're fighting for a playoff spot, so they're gonna have to play everybody every game, and they don't have the luxury to rest guys because they're not gonna be able to keep everybody. They're not gonna be able to keep Capella, Murray, Jalen Johnson's gonna play every game because he's 21. So they're gonna play all their guys every single game to fight for the play-in playoff spot. And their expected win percentage is going to go down. So it could be a good buy in a couple weeks for sure. I agree.
Yeah.
Something that's really trippy right now that I just looked at. I was looking and seeing what team we're all invested in, and imagine if I would have told you in October that all 3 of us in the first week of March we were all going to have one team that we were invested in simultaneously in the first week of March. And I would have told us that it was the Hornets. We all would have said that's crazy. But yet we're all invested on the Hornets, and that's the only team that all of us are invested in.
That's really
I don't
funny.
know if I would have said it was crazy. Maybe a little surprising, but I don't know. Nothing too wild.
Have
Yeah.
we invested in every team?
I think
Not the
someone has
Wizards.
invested in every team. I
I
think
don't
someone did.
remember. I
Like
don't
Payton
remember
doing the
that.
heavy lifting.
You can look at the sheets and see, but I don't think so.
Yeah,
What team are we missing?
it would probably be the Wizards because PT's
Yeah.
invested in the Raptors now. Spurs, Magic have all been invested in.
Pistons.
I think you were in the Nets for a little bit. P.
Yeah, I was.
Hawks, Timberwolves, Blazers,
It would have just been the
Thunder. Yeah,
Wizards, because
yeah.
you
I
know
think
they're not gonna make you money.
yeah, it's just the
You know?
Wizards.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Like they probably
Where-
started somewhere around like that $21 limit or that point because we didn't know how Jordan Poole was gonna look and Kyle Kuzma together. But now that we know what they are and they're terrible, it's like they never got back up to where they were.
I know what you are.
Yeah. Like teams were like, aren't we glad we didn't pay this guy, $60 million or whatever Jordan Poole's getting paid,
Right.
80 million or something.
The Wizards.
Yeah, Wizards is the only team that none
Would
of us
do
have
that.
invested in all season.
They
The
gotta
Wizards make
be.
terrible decisions.
Gage,
They gotta be.
you got money? You can get 3 shares right now with your name on it.
No.
He's
Okay,
basically
wait.
giving his money away.
Yeah.
Question. Okay, so I'm the only one that still has Pistons. I didn't sell them because I don't care at this point. Would you rather buy a share of Pistons or a share of Wizards right now?
Pistons, 100%.
Pistons.
Okay, I'll get you both
They'll
in
lose
there
me
for
less
that.
money.
I'll get you 1 and 1.
They're just. I just think they're a better team. Like I think that obviously the start of the Pistons was a lot worse, but in the last, I think 15 games, the Wizards have just not done anything. Like if you look at their schedule, it's just like L L L L L L L W L L L L L L. Like I'm pretty sure they've gone like 1-14 in their last 15. I'll look it up real quick, but like they're not gonna like they're. I don't even know why they would really want to, because you would want to tank if you were them. But their saving grace down the stretch, as far as the game goes, is going to be that teams rest their players and they can squeak out wins. That's their best chance to get to like 15, 16 wins after when the season's over.
You know what the worst
because
part
like
about? Go ahead.
nothing. I was just gonna say, because that's like that realistically is their best chance to win games and get to like 15.
You know what the worst part about being playing on the Pistons right now is?
What's that?
It's the fact that it's the fact that every team that you play against knows that they have to stomp you out real hard just so they can keep you that low. Like there's been players on record on that team like I forgot who said it, but they said that there's just a different vibe even when they're during their streak. There's just a different vibe of how hard teams would play against them to keep the streak going.
Sam,
Yeah.
can I share my screen real quick just to show you guys what this looks like?
Yeah.
It'll mess up the recording.
Oh,
Okay,
The
well let
video
me just
recording.
tell you. Let me just tell you. Or let me. How about this? Let me ask you this. In their last, or I'll say this, since December
Beginning of February.
31st, since December 31st, how many wins do you think they have?
3.
6.
They have 4 wins. So they went, what is it? The whole month of February without winning, and they had.
That's like half the season.
Well, I don't know if it's
half the season,
but
half the season up like from the beginning of the season to now, like December 31st is halfway. They have won less games in the second half than they have the first half.
yeah, I guess it really didn't start good either. They had 2 wins in their first like 20. So yeah. Anyways, they're a terrible team. Probably one of the most incompetent front offices. Probably the most, honestly.
No. The Wizards.
Yeah, but we can't get Gage going on that. We can't get Gage going on.
How's
going
what's
on
his
the
name
Wizards.
that they drafted? How's that panning out? Right? the guy they traded up to draft for? How's that going?
Koulibaly, he's just not ready yet. Like we all knew he was going to be kind of a project player, and obviously having Wes Unseld Jr. as your coach doesn't help, along with a bunch of non-shot creating big forwards that really can't do anything. I will say though, Denny Avdia has been playing pretty well considering the circumstances. He's gotten better as a player, but otherwise, like Johnny Davis looks like a complete bust, and they took him at 9. And who was the other guy they took a couple years ago?
The only good player on that team, besides maybe Kuzma, is Trey Jones. Or
Yeah.
Tyus. Is it Tyus Jones?
Yeah, it's Tyus. Yeah, Tyus Jones is good. If I was him, and I know role players they can't really just like ask for trades, but if I was him, I'd been like, dude, get me out of here. I'm sure he was thinking in his head, and I'm sure they knew this, that he could be a really good backup, and most teams would want him as a quality backup. Like probably 28 of the 31 teams in the NBA.
He's gonna get paid.
I think he already did get paid. I thought
he got paid already.
I think.
I thought his contract's almost up. I was like, he's gonna get
maybe
paid
that's
somewhere.
why they didn't. But if no, because if that was the reason, then you might as well get something for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right though. He's a free agent after this season. See, like that's what I'm talking about. Like, that he's obviously leaving after this season, and you get nothing for him. Like, you just let his contract expire for what? Like, he's literally an expiring contract, and you probably could have gotten like a protected first for him in like the late first round. And they're like, no, we're too good for a first round pick. Like, dude, you need all the first you can get. Like
we're making a playoff push.
And then all you did was trade Daniel Gafford. Like, dude.
For what?
I don't even remember what they got in that package. Like, I think they got picks, and that's good on them, but at the same time, it's like, if there's any young player that's not making a lot of money that you could feel good about keeping, it's him.
Gafford.
And they traded him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a good center.
Yeah, he's a good center. Yeah. And it's not like they got centers even on the I don't even know who their center is right now.
No idea.
Some guy they want to try out, I guess.
I guess. But whatever. Anyways, I got another team we can talk about. How come none of us are investing in the Warriors? Do they got a tough schedule coming up or something?
Because
that's a
they
team
did
that's
really
been pretty
good.
hot.
They went 3-1. I think I would have been down for the Warriors if I mean they lost once on this road trip, but that one loss was just historically bad.
Yeah, that's true. But it was also against the best team in the NBA by a wide margin. So it's like, if they would have lost by 25, would it have been that much of a big deal?
So the reason that I didn't invest in the Warriors is their expected win percentage is 500 or above 500. They have 6 games, and so that means they'd have to win 4 to make money. Now, does it sound reasonable? Probably. I'll read the teams. Home against the Bucks, home against the Bulls, home against the Spurs, at the Mavericks, at the Lakers. Now, could it happen? Maybe. Is it probable? Maybe not. But
it's just one
I
of
guess
those things like too dicey.
Yeah.
Too risky.
Unless you're a Warriors fan.
Right.
If I'm a Warriors fan, though, at this point in the season, I'm feeling pretty, I don't know if optimistic is the right word, but I'm feeling encouraged.
Yeah.
That we didn't just like keep, being bad all season. I mean, they
Warriors?
might even. Yeah. Because they started rough. They were below the Rockets. They were below the Jazz for a minute, and now they're back where they probably should be, around that 8-9 seed, I think.
Could you imagine if they chose to draft anyone else besides James Wiseman? I feel like there was pretty sure they missed out on someone.
Was he the third pick?
Second.
No, he was number 2. They missed out on LaMelo Ball. And I'm sure there's probably other players in that draft they could have had a good fit with as well.
Tyrese?
No, I don't think he was that draft. I think that was the one before. But maybe. But at the same time, if you have Steph, you're not going to draft Tyrese, no matter, you know, how good your hindsight is. I mean, maybe at this point they would, being how good he is, but it's like, even if he was a higher rated prospect than he was at the time, they're still not going to, you would have still had LaMelo Ball. But yeah, I mean, even if they took a guy like, Onyeka Okongwu or Isaac Okoro, that would have been better fits and better long-term players, at
Yeah.
least, playing a solid role. You could have had Devin Vassell play small forward and had Wiggins play the 4. Could have had that, but otherwise, there's not really many guys. You bring up Tyrese, and that's valid. I mean, even Obi Toppin maybe at the 5 sometimes
Probably
could have been
Obi.
cool.
Probably Obi.
Yeah, probably Obi. Yeah.
Obi's gonna Obi has been at the same level since he got drafted, and people expected that. So that's why you drafted Obi.
I don't think that's true, actually.
Obi?
I think from until this year he has. I think on the Pacers, he's playing a lot better. He's playing, it looks like a lot more natural and fluid. That might just be the system, but maybe that's what he needed. He just needed somewhere not the Knicks with Tom Thibodeau. Because I always felt like he played very stiff and like he was walking on eggshells, basically. Like he had, basically no room to kind of try out stuff. And now I see him shooting a lot more threes. I see him being a lot more explosive to the rim, especially with Tyrese giving him a lot more lobs. I mean, they just don't really have the kind of structure, or I guess they have an overbearing structure there in New York, where if you don't fit the build, then you're getting benched. So, I mean, but here's the thing with the Warriors, it could have been like really good coming out of the gate. Maybe that's kind of the lob threat they needed, because they've never really had a lob threat. Kevon Looney is okay, but he's not really a
Who?
lob threat.
Golden State?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Did I
thought
say
you were talking
something
about
else?
Pacers. I was like, I thought the Pacers. I was like, Pacers have had tons of lob threats that just
Yeah,
don't
that's
really.
true.
They just do
I meant the
whatever, right?
Warriors.
But the
Yeah,
Warriors, yeah, the Warriors don't have any lob threats
that would have been a
since.
great fit, I think.
Who's,
Um,
who's
but
been their lob
anyways,
threat? I don't since. Have they had ever
uh,
had a lob threat
I don't know if
like
they've
it?
even ever had a lob threat. Not one that was starting, anyways. Maybe I'm trying to think back to their championship days, not the most recent one, but the prime. And I mean, even then they had like David Lee, who was not a very athletic guy. They had
Uh
Festus Ezeli. He was just a basic center.
oh
Draymond plays the 5. He's not, you know.
Tsunami Poppy or what is Oubre? Would you consider him kind of a
Mm,
lob threat? Could
yeah,
a
but
little bit.
he's more of a. I would say he's less of a lob threat because he's mainly more of a slasher. He's gonna make the dunk. He's not gonna receive the dunk, if you know what I
Hmm.
mean. Their closest thing was probably Andre Iguodala. Um, but anyways, uh, you guys have more teams you want to talk about, or?
Gage, do you have one to bring up?
How do we feel about the Thunder? Best team in the
Mm,
West.
you
Best
mean
team in the
as
West. I love watching them. I think they're a good team. They could give a lot of teams a run for their money in the playoffs. But in terms of investing, like the juice is not worth the squeeze here.
yeah.
They have to win 3/4 of their games.
But they're the number. They're aren't they a number one seed, or they keep fighting with Timberwolves? Pretty sure.
Yeah, that's totally fine. But what, like we said all season, the 1 seeds ain't gonna make you money
Yeah, but
here.
why are we scared of like if they're that good? Why are we scared of them keeping up like a decent record on like uh I guess the
It's the
Celtics are
same reason I
easier.
gave
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
You know.
The Grizzlies could win 2 out of 7 games, and the Thunder could win all 7 of their games these next 2 weeks, and the Grizzlies will make more money. That's why. I'd have to put in 4 or maybe even 5 times the amount of stock that I would in the Thunder to make just as much money as I would have in the Grizzlies.
I think a good point to make here, as far as why we don't bet on the very, very good teams, is that I think in this stage of the game where it's getting closer to the playoffs and guys start to rest and teams really need to start playing guys and going really hard in games. I think that we want to bet on the more desperate teams, that like really want to do something, like the Hawks maybe later on, or I don't think the Rockets are gonna make the playoffs or playing or anything, but that there's still a chance. Um, and they want to have that improvement and whatnot, but and the Heat too, they want to keep continuing winning games, and I think we just should, I think it's a smart idea to go after the more desperate teams. I do think the one thing that helps the Thunder in that regard is I think Shy wants the MVP. I don't think it's like, a big deal to him, but I think he would want to play out as many games and play and win as many games so he has the best chance to win it. I think that's one thing that's important. But I don't think it's that big of a deal, whereas versus a team like the Heat who are going to need to win games and have a good end of their season because they want to go into the playoffs with a good stride of games.
Did we think Shy was going to be this good? I don't think I thought Shy was going to be this good.
It's funny because I think Payton, you and I were talking about this off air, like within the last week. So obviously he played for the Clippers for a year, and when I was watching him, I did think like, this guy's got something.
Yeah.
But like, did I think he was going to be all
This
NBA
good.
first team? No, no.
Neither
Because
did
if I
Kawhi.
did, I would have been like, gosh, why'd we trade him?
Yeah.
Kawhi
Yeah,
said,
I
"Let him
mean,
go. He doesn't have it."
I
Yeah.
didn't think he was going to be this good. I thought he was going to be more of like and it's kind of hard to compare a young guy with another young guy, but just as far as production and kind of their impact, I thought he was going to be more of a Tyrese Maxey. Just kind of be always like really good, but not like in like an all-star probably every year if he's healthy and his team wins enough games, but maybe not like an every year and out first team All NBA guy. And there's still a lot of I don't know, career to go, but yeah, he definitely looks like a guy now that is going to be in the playoffs every year, and he's going to be All NBA second team at minimum every year.
Yeah, I was just. I don't know. I know he's really. I think. You see, I don't know if he would have been this good if he stayed on the Clippers. Because I mean, out of all the teams that are really good, there are teams that are noticeably like very good at developing their players, and one of them happens to be OKC. And even the thing is that OKC is a small market, but if you are known like if you are becoming like very popular in OKC, as soon as you step out of OKC and go to a larger market, then I think people get a real grasp of how good you really are. Like we all knew that KD and Russ and Harden were pretty good players, but they were kind of shadowed the fact that they were in a smaller market. But as soon as Harden, steps foot in Houston and KD goes to Golden State, they instantly just became like accepted superstars. We're still thinking, oh, there's still a lot of career left for Shy. But if he were to step out and go to a larger market, you think he might have the same effect of like be on the heights of Kevin Durant and James Harden? I'm asking you, like, why are we not thinking of or why and how? What will it take for us to think of Shy as on KD or James Harden's level? Right?
Let me get this first, Sam. So there's a couple issues with what you said. I see what you're trying to say. But number one, the Harden situation is a bit different. Because he was the sixth man and they didn't want to pay him the money, and he went and he got his own team. And that's kind of where Shy is at right now. So it's a little bit hard to compare those situations. I don't agree on Kevin Durant. I think everybody knew how good he was his third year in the league, and then he won MVP. So I don't really agree with that one. And then when Westbrook was by himself, he was still, everyone regarded him as a really good player. I mean, yeah, nobody really respected his win percentage because they didn't win a lot of games, and that's valid, but everyone knew what he was about. And then as far as like your main take, as far as like him, if he goes somewhere else, then he would be recognized as that kind of player. I think he would be by the casual fan, but for guys like us who watch, a bunch of different NBA games, we kind of know what we're talking about. I don't think it's going to really make a difference. Like, we know what Shy is. It's not about him being in a small market for us because we know how good he is. We watch the games. I mean, we know he's an all-star. We know he's an MVP candidate this year. We recognize that. And so I don't think him going to a different team is going to really change that fact. I think what me personally, I can only speak for myself, I'm waiting on is that I need to see him do this year in, year out. And he's had a great year. But I do think that the better he gets, the more defensive pressure is going to be on him. And I still think he's capable of being this kind of player year in, year out, but it's kind of just going to depend on if he can keep that same production, which I think he can, but I just want to see the context, and I think that applies to any player,
So I guess I want to just follow really quickly. Do you think that this core in OKC can keep up with them? Like, are they gonna? Is this core ever gonna hold them back? I want to reminisce of our old OKC. Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Serge Ibaka, and Steven Adams. Right now you have Chet. You have Giddey, who kind of fell off a little bit this year. And then you have Dort, and I forgot who the next guy up would be.
So it's Jalen Williams.
Jalen Williams.
So I'll say one, no, they won't, because Chet is going to be really good. Jalen Williams is already really good. Josh Giddey, he doesn't really need to be a part of the team. They can start Case and Wallace. And then who am I forgetting? I was gonna say, I personally think they're good enough because here's the thing. They're already a top 3 seed and they're all young anyways, so I don't see a reason why they wouldn't get better as they get more experience, as they get older, as they get stronger. But I'll also say I don't really think it matters necessarily because they have so many picks to trade that even if they were to hold him back, they have that option where they can say, okay, well, let's just say hypothetically, Chet is the same guy he is now in 3 years, which I don't think any of us really believe that's the case. We'll give you Chet and 10 first for Joel Embiid. Or, they'll do that same deal for what's another kind of up and coming center, like Şengün, if he ends up being better, just hypothetically. Or, just another star. They have the optionality where I don't think if they really think they're not maximized, then they can go out and get a star. Or how about this? They don't even have to touch that core. They can just trade picks and salary and get that guy anyways and just keep the players. So I don't really think it matters necessarily if, about that. But I will say ultimately we just don't know yet. And it's hard to project that right now.
Yeah. I think the downfall of OKC might be the collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah, that would be it right there. Yeah.
I don't think they'll be able to pay like that fourth guy just like the exact same thing, and you have to give up James Harden again.
Correct.
Like, not saying that any of these players are James Harden, but it's going to be that thing that you have to decide, should we.
Jalen Williams could be the part.
He looks the part.
He looks like he could be, yeah.
Yeah. He's pretty good.
Yeah. He's a lot more two-way than James Harden is. I would even say he looks more like if he had his own team, he could be on like a Paul George kind of trajectory. Which, I mean, it might sound crazy right now, but I don't think it'll be crazy in a couple years when he's an all-star and he's averaging 25, 7, and 2.5 steals.
Mm-hmm. Or he just disappears like Granger.
This is turning into a stock market update into a separate podcast. You might have to chop this.
Yeah.
But no,
is there
I think we're good.
Any other teams? No?
No, I think we can wrap this one up, buddy.
All right. So obviously we're all interested in who's gonna finish in first in the race between Geigh and I. But I think a race that I'm also interested in is PT trying to break even on the year.
He will.
I have faith in you, P. You can do it. You've had 2 good weeks in a row.
Well, here's the thing is, no matter whether I break even or not, it was a fun experience to be able to play this with you guys, and I've got some experience, and kind of know a little bit more about how to approach the beginning of the season, and kind of put my investments and kind of how to attack it a little bit better. So, but that's definitely my goal personally.
Yeah. And
You
it's a good
learned-
practice round
yeah.
for next year when we invest actual money, actual
Correct.
$5,000.
Yeah.
So
$5,000 buy-in.
Yeah.
But once again, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Momentum MVP. Follow our Facebook page at MVP Momentum Podcast, and check us out on YouTube at MVP Momentum Podcast. I've been Sam Holcroft.
Geigh Zollicoffer.
Ivan Payton Thompson.
Thanks for listening.